Everybody trying to be content creators and trying to go viral. You want to go viral?
Okay, you want to go viral. Let's go viral then.
Say let.
Let go.
Let's embrace it. Let's love it. Let's enjoy it. And let's give them the experience of their life. That's Roswell for you, baby. Come together. And guys, this is Speaking Out Loud. I appreciate you guys joining us. Don't forget to share and dance like you just don't care. It's early in the morning. Let's have a day. And like I said, be a friend. Tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. Shout out PMS. Good morning and welcome to Speaking Out Loud. This is Rene, your host, and it is 12:29, 6:32, coming at you live from Roswell, New Mexico. JB will be joining us later on in the show to give us his takeaways from seeing the 49ers and Chicago Bears live from Levi Stadium, the host of the Super Bowl this year. So that should be interesting. A lot of games happened this weekend. A lot of things were decided, but a lot of matchups were set up for us for the NFL week 18 slate that will be happening this weekend. But yesterday, to start off the show, let's talk about what happened last night. What a game that Borba got to witness live, and hopefully he'll be joining us here pretty soon so he can give us his takeaways. But the 49ers in an absolute shootout, beating the Chicago Bears 42-38 in a final drive for Caleb Williams. Final throw there in the red zone didn't quite work out in their favor, but the Niners get the win behind Brock Purdy going 24 for 33, 303 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 72.7 completion percentage. Brock Purdy had himself a day, but alongside him was one of the best. This is one hell of a redemption story if you're thinking about fantasy football. Christian McCaffrey going from being hurt. People. Let's remember last year, if you drafted Christian McCaffrey, man, you were excited, and then you ended up finding out that he was going to end up sitting out 4 weeks, and then 4 weeks ended up 8 weeks, and then 8 weeks ended up being an entire season because of his calves, right, left and right. Both calves were going through it, and the one thing that we always worry about whenever someone has a calf injury is that the ACL will follow shortly after. We've seen it happen time after time in the NBA. And we are slowly starting to see the increase of blown ACLs in the NFL. I don't know if that's a fact, but it just seems like they're coming more often than not. At least this year too, it's been like injury bug galore, right? I mean, you think of Malik Neighbors immediately, Patrick Mahomes, right? Those guys, some of the most elite, going down with ACL injuries. But Christian McCaffrey bouncing back from last year and redeeming all the fantasy football owners with 23 rushes, 140 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, JB, Jay, in my fantasy football league right now, yeah, this past weekend was the championship for the majority of the leagues, I'm assuming. If your championship is on week 18, you guys are psychos, and you should start discussing that with your GM. But for the majority of the world, I'm going to assume that week 17 was that championship for all you guys. And man, I'm absolutely cooking. Right before last week, if you joined the show on Thursday, Nate called in and said, maybe we can settle a deal. Maybe we can negotiate something to where first and second place can get a win. I said, hey, I'm a gambler's man. I had to play this out. Also, my team is so loaded that it would almost be dumb if I took a deal that didn't favor me at like 75%. Like, my team is so loaded that the only deal that I could have taken was giving Nate back his $50. That was the only deal that I could have possibly made. But sitting at 10-4 on the season, number one in my division. The current score right now is 118-78, with me still having Matthew Stafford to play and Kyle Pitts, and him only having Drake London. So Drake London would absolutely have to break the fantasy football record for me to lose. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, so I'm just going to enjoy today and just lock in and watch and see, and hopefully Matthew Stafford can go ahead and close that out for myself and for himself, as tonight he has. I wouldn't say it's a difficult game, but it's a good time for him to go ahead and close the door on the MVP conversation, as you have others trying to creep up on him for the MVP. Someone like a Drake May. Drake May seems to be the only other the only other athlete that is currently in that conversation. As they slowly fell off, as you saw yesterday, or Saturday, you could say, or not yesterday. Yeah, yesterday afternoon. The Bills and Eagles, kind of Josh Allen, kind of fell off that race a little bit. Still one of the most elite, but there's definitely question marks there. But you got the Rams tonight against the Atlanta Falcons. Um, yeah, Matthew Stafford can really put a stamp on that MVP conversation. So today, to me, they did not. They were pushed away from being able to win the division or being able to win the number one seed, but they still can play for something, and that is for the MVP award for Matthew Stafford and that team. Sitting at 11-4 tonight, they're -7 favorites. I expect the Rams to come out victorious and for Matthew Stafford to have that game. Of course, I think they're going to rest Devontae Adams, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But we shall see. We shall see. Um, but with that being said, 49ers massive win. That was probably the biggest takeaway from yesterday. What's at stake? What was set up? Let's see. So the AFC, after yesterday's games, AFC, the number one seed, is up for grabs in Week 18, along with the NFC number one seed is up for grabs in Week 18. So that sets up for a hell of a game. That's the 49ers versus the Seahawks. And that game will be played on Saturday night, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on ESPN. We will have not only a game for the number one seed and for the division, so you could basically say the playoffs start in Week 18. And what's crazy about that one is that you go from the number one seed to the number 5th seed. So you go from hosting a playoff game to playing a playoff game on the road. So will Seattle host a playoff game, or will they be on the road to play either a Chicago or a Philadelphia Eagles? Also, the AFC is up for grabs, right? As I said, the number one seed. And that comes down to the Broncos, Patriots, and Jaguars. Broncos leading the pack there. All they need to do is win. Who do they play? They play the Jaguars. I mean, the Chargers. The Chargers are playing for positioning. So that game's going to be interesting. The Patriots need the Broncos to lose, and they need to win. And they will be playing the Miami Dolphins. And we saw what Quinn Ewers did yesterday. If you're a Miami Dolphins fan, you're like, oh, maybe we have something. Maybe we have something. And maybe they do. Quinn Ewers, hook 'em horns. Heavy. If we remember back to his college career, had a lot of success with UT, got into the college playoffs. But there at the end, there was a lot of criticism of wanting to possibly push him out of Texas because they were ready for Lowell Manning to get the start. I was one of them too, where it was like, I felt like they could have gotten further in the college football playoffs if Lowell Manning or Archie Manning got the start rather than Quinn Ewers. But I think hindsight now, we're probably like, probably not. It's probably too soon. It would have probably been too soon for Manning. But sometimes you just need a little lightning in a bottle, something that just gets you going. I always look back at that Nick Foles run with the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's what they caught. They just caught lightning in a bottle, and then boys were buzzing and went on a hell of a run. And thirdly, the Jacksonville Jaguars still have a shot at the number one seed, but they need a little bit of help, and that would be the Broncos losing to the Chargers, the Patriots losing to the Dolphins, and then the Jags need to get the win over the Tennessee Titans. So it's still possible for them to get the number one seed, but it will be difficult. But I think if you're a Jags fan right now, you're just excited that you're in the dance and you will be hosting a playoff game. All you need to do is win, and you win the division. I mean, we look at that division from the start of the season, and I think at the start of the season, I think we made the assumption that it was going to come down to the Jags and the Houston Texans, and that's kind of what it's come down to now. Those two will be representing their division, and you could say that those are the two scariest teams coming into the playoffs. And at some point during the season, these two could have. I don't want to say they were the laughing stock because that would be overreacting a little too much. But there was a time where that division was just being ran by the Colts, and we only thought that only one team would come out. Obviously, stay patient, as we saw that Houston did have one of the most elite defenses from the beginning, but we always put that question mark on them because of their offensive line and the consistency of CJ Stroud, because we haven't seen the CJ Stroud of old, the CJ Stroud of his rookie year when he had that prolific season. But now we're starting to see a small shift. Obviously, I think if you're watching the Houston Texans, you're thinking to yourself, like, man, our offense has to get it clicking. At some point, this offense has to get it rolling. And then you look across side from them and you see the Jacksonville Jaguars looking hotter than ever, 12-4 on the season, 6-2 at home, 6-2 on the road, 4-1 in the division, 9-2 in the AFC conference. The Jacksonville Jaguars seem as legit as ever with Trevor Lawrence. And when I watch them, I mean, their defense is solid. I think their defense is something that you want to be careful with. They get takeaways, and that's one of the most important things that we've seen this year is, can your defense get takeaways? Not only stops, but can they get takeaways? And that's one thing that Jacksonville's been able to show us. But most importantly, that Jacoby Myers trade, as JV said several weeks ago, that has came to fruition. That effect it's showing itself out. Jacoby Myers is playing well in Jacksonville, and ETN's playing well in Jacksonville. Now we're just waiting for Brian Robinson Jr. to get it rolling. But this team is good, man. And what this team reminds me of is, and I don't want to overreact here, but it is overreaction money. So I'm allowed to, right? I'm allowed to. But this team kind of gives me the feel of the Philadelphia Eagles team that made that run to the Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts using his legs to get him to the promised land. Does it not? I mean, you watch Philly. I mean, you watch Jacksonville. I mean, they're running the tush push as well. They look unstoppable when Trevor Lawrence is running the ball, especially like on crucial downs, man. The ones that you got to get, those third downs. There was a couple third downs from the Jags yesterday where it felt like they were in trouble, and Trevor Lawrence just created something out of nothing using his legs. And I think that's how Jacksonville can get to the promised land. They got to use his legs. But let's go into a couple winning locker rooms here. Let's go into Jacksonville and see how them boys celebrated after getting that big win. Let's pull it up for you guys. It's a little slow in the streets today, huh, Jay? No love today, Jay. What's going on, Jay? All right, hold on. Let's go into this locker room real quick, Jay. Let's go into this locker room.
12 wins, man. 12 wins. 12. Guys, so proud of you. Those games are never easy, man. Those games are never easy. Going on the road, in the division, all that doesn't matter. You guys just step up and continue to win. Continue to win. That's all that matters, man. Continue to win and find ways to win. That's what it's about. So proud of you guys. Enjoy this, guys. Always enjoy wins on the road, man. No matter what, enjoy wins in this league because we earn them. We earn them, and we take every one of them.
Jags on 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Let's go.
12 effing wins. Don't apologize for winning in the NFL because it's absolutely difficult. And it really is, man. It really is. And the NFL has been so up and down this year that you just don't know. It's like we don't really know. There's no outlier. There's no outlier in the league right now. And that's what makes it the most interesting. And I've seen a couple talking heads out there talking about how this is the most boring that it's ever been in the league. I disagree. This is the most exciting. Yeah, we're missing a couple of our juggernauts. Like, we're missing Patrick Mahomes. We're missing Joe Burrow. We're missing the Dallas Cowboys. That's a fault of their own. You want to be a part of the cool kids. You want to be a part of the fun stuff. You want to be a part of this dance. You got to show out, and those teams haven't been able to do that, whether it's injuries or just self-inflicted wounds. They haven't been able to figure it out, and those are teams with decent rosters, with solid quarterbacks, with great players on their teams, and for whatever reason, they can't figure it out. I mean, you look at the Steelers who set up another playoff game for us on week 18 because now they're playing for the division. They dropped their game to the Cleveland Browns this weekend, losing 6-13. Jay, 6-13, 9-7, they're the 4th seed in the AFC, and currently just gave up their position to the Baltimore Ravens. If you look on paper, Aaron Rodgers went 21 for 39, 168 yards. That's absolutely insane. Aaron Rodgers threw 39 times, Jay, and only had 168 passing yards, a 53% completion rate, on average 4 yards per throw. They had a solid run game. And when I say solid, I mean honestly not very good. It was the only thing they had offensively. What combined Warren and Gainwell? What 92 yards on 20 attempts? 20 attempts don't seem like enough running the ball when you're supposed to be a run heavy team and you're missing someone like a DK Metcalf. Now, is that why you couldn't run the ball because they were stacking the box? Or according to Myles Garrett, maybe you were so focused on Myles Garrett breaking the record that you forgot the goal out there was to go out there and win the game. I didn't say that. Myles Garrett said that. Jay, that didn't come out of my mouth. Those words came directly out of Myles Garrett's mouth. He had the thought process that, hey, maybe these guys were focused on something else rather than just winning the game. Let's take a listen to what he actually had to say.
To an extent, I feel like they were more worried about keeping me away from Aaron than getting the win, and I think that's what came back to bite them. So they'll have to fight it out with Baltimore next week. But I'm just proud of the guys for fighting and getting this win. That's the main thing, and I'm always going to keep it that.
Wow. Myles Garrett stirring the pot just a little bit. And now the conversations coming out of Pittsburgh is Mike Tomlin playing for his job in week 18? And you can make the argument for both sides. It's a win-win situation for Mike Tomlin on week 18 because regardless of the result, he still will end with the winning season. Right, Jay? He still will come out with the winning season. If they lose 9-8, if they win 10-7 and you're a division winner, you just saved your job. But you can't drop this game, man. This game right here that they just dropped to the Cleveland Browns with the division up for grabs, you weren't supposed to lose this game at all. I mean, this team stinks. 13 in the AFC. The fact that Pittsburgh lost this game, something has to change. Someone has to be to blame. And you put this on the head coach. 6 points? 6 points? Like, I hope DK's sitting there questioning everything. Because I don't want to put this on them. This was already a struggling offense to begin with. But now you remove your only threat. And this is what you get. This is what you get. I don't know that there was a lot of people surprised that this was a close game. I think what I'm the most surprised about is that these guys came out here on Sunday and gave us 6 points offensively. No heart, no fire. And typically when we question someone's heart, You got to look at the people leading them. I don't want to do this to Mike Tomlin, but the Pittsburgh fans are already doing it. And I feel their frustration. I'd be fuming. This division should have been nothing but a walk in the park to clinch for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. And they've made it so difficult that in week 18, they're going to be playing Tyler Huntley for the division. Do you understand how insane that sounds? You're the Pittsburgh Steelers, bro. You went all in. You spent all that money on the defense. You went and got Aaron Rodgers. You finally paid a wide receiver in DK Metcalf. You let go of George Pickens. You let go of Najee Harris. You're on the second year with your offensive coordinator and Artie Smith. First year with Aaron Rodgers, but supposedly they were familiar with each other. Now you can look back and be like, wow, well, Aaron Rodgers waited so long to sign with the Steelers, didn't really have a full offseason, la, la, la. We can start coming up with the excuses if we want. But this is nothing more to blame than on Mike Tomlin and his staff. Not having these boys prepared. And you can say he had them prepared and whatnot, but the result shows us differently. Shador getting his first win. Kudos to him. Stefanski comes out in the presser and says, and actually praises Shador. And maybe there's a flip switch in Cleveland. Maybe that win put someone's coaching job on the hot seat, but it may have actually kind of brought down the flame on another. And maybe we've been overreacting to Kevin Stefanski. I'm curious to know how Browns. I haven't really gotten a feel on where Browns fans are with Kevin Stefanski as of late, especially as of this week. I haven't really seen anything where they're leaning towards. So I'm curious to know how Browns fans feel. But just me watching from the outside looking in, it almost feels like, okay, maybe we do give Kevin Stefanski a chance. Maybe we allow him to buy in with Shador Sanders, and maybe they can make a run. Because they look solid yesterday. They're able to move the ball. They just stink in the red zone. Pretty bad. Shador did have 2 interceptions. He only had 186 yards, 17 for 23. Not a great game, but they didn't look bad. You got to think about it. Jerry Jeudy's his best wide receiver. So if you go out and go get Shador, someone like, I'm just gonna say George Pickens, 'cause that's the only person I can think of right now. But like a big name receiver that will be available in the offseason. Like, it, I guess if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, though, in a sense, you're like, all right, we got something to look forward to next year. Now, I don't know if Shador's stats are like exciting, but when you watch the game, there's something there. It's different. It does feel different. I think when you watch the Browns play, it does feel a little different. It's not like it normally was or usual or like what we're accustomed to, right, Jay? Like you would probably agree with me there. That watching the Browns definitely feels a lot different than it did maybe about 6 weeks ago. I think yeah, they got something. They definitely got some tea in the pot, and the stove is on warm. The stove is on low, 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 the lowest of lows, but it's warm. And now the tea's not necessarily brewing just yet, but it's getting warm. It's getting warm. That's my takeaways from the Cleveland Browns. I think that's a fair assessment. But I will have to touch with my Browns friends today, to later on in the day, and see what they're feeling. But coming out of this game, the Browns the Browns beat the Steelers 13-6 in Week 17, and they hold a record of 4-12 in 2025. But this is crazy. Cleveland has won 4 straight games at home against Pittsburgh, winning each matchup since 2022. Check that stat, huh? Myles Garrett generated a team-high 6 pressures on 39 pass rushes in Week 17, with 5 of his pressures coming in the second half. Man, bro, watching Myles Garrett trying to get that last sack, it's been fun. Like, you almost feel bad for him, though, right, Jay? Like, you almost feel bad that Myles Garrett's just trying to get that record, bro. He did. He did. You know, if we remember at the beginning of the season, and I'm sorry to stay on the Browns here, but if we remember at the beginning of the season, Myles Garrett puts out a letter, right? And he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry, Cleveland. I think it's time." You know, he's removing himself. He's requesting the trade. La la la. He wants to go to another team because he cares about winning. And then they give him this fat check that he couldn't say no to, and he was like, "Winning? Do I really care about winning that much?" And apparently not, because he still stays motivated. He's like Max Crosby. These guys just stinky teams. They know it, but they're getting that bread and they're still putting up numbers, which Max Crosby will get to in just a bit. But there was that coming into the season, and now he's playing for the sack record. So he's got to get it, man, because she's a player like that being wasted. It stinks to see. So you definitely want to see them break the record. It'll be good. It'll be good for the league. It'll be good for him. And yeah, man, come on, Myles Garrett. Let's get that. Let's break that record. And it would have been maybe the Steelers were too focused on that because T.J. Watt holds it with Michael Strahan. They're both tied for the record and for the sack record. But yeah, man, it seems like their minds weren't in the right place. And then you see that quote come out from Myles Garrett saying maybe they were focused on the wrong things, and this is the results. Like, it's hard to make that argument that they weren't. Like Mike Tomlin, come on, bro. Come on, Mike. And now you're playing for your season. You're playing for your season and you're playing for your job. And I know there's been a lot going around, right? Where we're like, Mike Tomlin's gonna make that decision. Same thing with Jim Harbaugh. It's like we gotta pay respects and allow them to make that decision whether or not they want to retire or not. I don't think that's necessarily true. Although we can have all the respect in the world for these coaches, it's also okay to say, all right, we've ran our course. This has ran its course. And maybe it's time for a new voice to come in. Because when we say that, we just make the assumption that these guys are ready to retire. I don't think Mike Tomlin's ready to retire. Do I think he wants to coach the Pittsburgh Steelers for his entire career? Sure. Yeah, definitely. Why wouldn't he want to? And unless you push him out, I don't know that he's going to go anywhere. Like, why would you? Why would you go anywhere, Jay? Why? You're in a great situation. You're in a great city. You're in a place where football is the main focus, and the investment's there. You know the ownership's going to invest. They showed it. And they showed it this year, and I think this year is the most telling of any. And now he's playing for his job, Week 18. But you did this to yourself. You did this to yourself. And I don't get how a team has had the same results offensively for this many years, back to back to back to back to back. I mean, just years ago, we were blaming Matt Canada. I remember when they were chanting, "Fire Matt Canada." I mean, damn, we saw it they did it at one point at College Game Day. At college for Pitt, whenever College Game Day went to Pitt. Has nothing to do with the pros. And they were chanting, "Fire Matt Canada." And then now they get Artie Smith. And it seems like Artie Smith don't know what to do. And is it the offensive play calling, or is it Aaron Rodgers? Has Father Time finally made its way? Aaron Rodgers feels like a check down king sometimes. A check down king or a fade king. Like in the red zone, it feels like all we get is fade routes. Just go routes. Here you go. Go up and get it. Go up and make a play. And you got no DK to make that play, man. That was the call for the game from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Fade route. 1-on-1. 50-50. That's the odds that the Pittsburgh Steelers are playing with. That's what they showed up with. A 50-50 effort. And the result was Cleveland's better than you. Cleveland is better than you. And now Mike Tomlin's playing for his job in Week 18. God dang it. Isn't that some ish? And that's going to be the Sunday night game, Jay. Sunday night football. Ravens versus Pittsburgh Steelers. Hell of a matchup, Jay. I love it. I love it, and I'm here for it. Because Week 18 was starting to look like a bit of a snoozer, bro. A bit of a snoozer. And they're going against Derrick Henry, who's coming off a massive game against the Green Bay Packers, where Green Bay, Jordan Love didn't play. With the Green Bay Packers, you're almost like, do they have a quarterback controversy? And then the offense looks so stagnant where it's like, man, what's going on? But they're just, and I hate to do this, but it does feel like, the injuries are just killing the Packers right now. The injuries are finally catching up to them. I mean, but they clinched the playoffs. So now, hey, just rest and let's get ready for the dance. But this is what the Steelers have to look forward to. Yesterday, Derrick Henry, historic night in Green Bay. On Saturday, sorry. He had 4 touchdowns, tying his career high. 36 carries, career high. 216 yards. He's top 10 all-time in rushing. And that was his 7th career game with a 200-yard game. Most in the NFL. His 7th career 200-yard game. Most in the NFL. Derrick Henry. That's who Pittsburgh's going to line up against. Jay, you tell me, man. That's woo! And Lamar's not going to play, and there's a whole thing happening right now about Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Is that a fugazi or is that legit? To be determined. And yesterday, as I'm sitting in the closet, I'm thinking to myself, could you imagine? And Jay, I don't. Only my mom's watching, so I'm gonna tell my mom right here, my sister. I'm not saying Dak isn't good, but just like I said about Mike Tomlin, it may have just ran its course. And what if the rumors coming out of Baltimore are real? And what if, I know Dak has no trade clause. I know that. Very aware. But what if Dak becomes a Baltimore Raven and Lamar Jackson goes to Dallas? What if? I'm just saying. I'm just throwing out there the possibilities of what could happen this offseason. I don't see it happening, but whenever you watch the Cowboys play, they have more issues than just that defense. As Cielo says here, in Dak, hashtag, in Dak we trust. Yes, in Dak we do trust. But in Dak also comes a lot of baggage. Because of what we're slowly starting to find out is Dak needs his surroundings to be perfect. Coming into the season, the conversation around the Dallas Cowboys was, obviously we get rid of our elite pass rusher, right? So we already knew the question marks that we were going to have on defense. But the other most important position that was being questioned was the running back position. What kind of play are we going to get from our running backs? And man, we got lucky. We got blessed that Javonte Williams played the way he played, because if he didn't, our offense would have looked even worse. Although we had CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, when you watch the games, for as fun as on offense as we're being told should be, boy, does it get stagnant quick. And maybe that's just an effect of them always having to have the pressure to have to go and score. So, okay, I'll give us the benefit of the doubt there. But if that's the case, we still don't score enough. We still don't score enough. I mean, you look even back at this last game on Christmas, and it's like at one point, it felt like we should have been killing this team, but we weren't. They just stayed in the game. And then we end up winning 30-23. But sure, we put 30 points, but it's on Washington. If we go down our schedule, and I hate to do this, but this is what we do to bad teams. This is what we do to bad teams. And then when we play a great team, how do we explain when our offense is only putting up like 14 points, 17 points? How do you explain that when we're supposed to have one of the most elite offenses in the league? Like, if we just go down their schedule, let's start in week 3 against the Chicago Bears. 14 points, 31-14. 14. 14 is crazy. The Broncos, week 8, 24 points. And a lot of that, and some of that came in garbage time. The Cardinals, 17 points. And they're not a good team. The one team where I think our offense did look good, that you could say is a good team, is the Detroit Lions. We put up 30 points and still lost. Against the Chargers just last week. Against the Vikings 2 weeks ago. 26-17, like that. When we have what we're being told is one of the greatest offenses ever, why doesn't it show out against some of the best teams in the league? Why is that? So in Dak, we trust, we do, but everything has to be perfect around him. And whenever we have to focus on everything having to be perfect around him, we take away from where our focus should actually be, and it should be on us rebuilding that defense. Is George Pickens a priority? Yes. But if Dak is what he's supposed to be, then no, because we already have a number one. And now we need to go focus on our defense. 100% on defense. And now you got Quentin Williams. You got 2 studs. They're in the middle to clog the running game. And now you got to go get a pass rusher. And in early in the season, what we say, Max Crosby, come on, baby. Hashtag save Max Crosby. And now the Raiders may have helped us out, or just anybody else outside of the Las Vegas Raiders, by sitting him the last 2 weeks. They told him that he was going to sit, and Max Crosby's response was, I got to get out of here. He almost pulled the Draymond Green. It's better for me to remove myself for this situation than to be a part of it and continue the conversation. So Max Crosby just left the facility and said, nah, I'm good. And then now you're seeing videos of Buddy hooping. And pissed. And then Pete Carroll comes out in an interview and says, yeah, that's what I expected. I expected him to react that way, which was actually a great way for Pete Carroll to answer, because yes, that is how you would want your star player to react whenever you tell him, hey bud, we're gonna have to sit you out. We're gonna have to sit the rest of the season out. And in Max Crosby's defense, it's like, I already play for a sucky team. Like, none of these games matter. They haven't mattered. But I'm here to play. I'm here to cash my checks, baby. I'm curious to know if there's any incentives that he's going to be missing, because if there is, I'm sure they're going to pay it out. Why wouldn't you? And if they didn't, whoo, red flag, baby. Then that's how we know that Max Crosby is absolutely done in Las Vegas. But I doubt that's the case. I had to look that one up. I'm going to need to look that one up after the show. Jay, let's look up if Max Crosby has any incentives. If you can find that out for me before the show's over, but if not, we'll revisit that tomorrow. And if he does have any incentives, we got to find out whether or not they're going to pay it out, because that's big. That's big. But Max Crosby, I mean, I think that's got to be the focal point for the Dallas Cowboys if you really want to flip this season on its head. And we've seen this. We've seen this where there's a team that's shite the year before, and then somehow, I mean, they're just right there on the brink, right? 1 point games, and then they flip it on its head the following year. So it's there. It's a possibility. But I do hope that the Cowboys focus on the defense, because I don't think the offense is an issue. And if Dak is what he's supposed to be, and this is it, I think this is the last year. This is our last year that we give. Next year. Gosh, bro, we do that. This is why they say y'all do this all the time. That was just that last 10 seconds that I just had in my head. That's exactly why people make fun of us Cowboy fans. Like, bro, it's December 29th, and I'm already thinking about, oh, wait for it. Might have to put it on a t-shirt next year. You want to know what's funny? So I had to face my challenge, right, for fantasy football. That was a year ago. So I apologize, my friends, that I was supposed to do that for a long time ago. But I got last year. I got last in my fantasy football league that I'm the GM for. Probably fired me, but had to go on the date with the doll, and as you guys can see here, we had a little bit of we had a good time. Jay was there with me. Malcolm showed up for a little bit. You can just see the laughs there, having a good time. But as we're walking out, this group of people is like, "Hey, better luck next year." And in my head, I had backflashes of the last 30 years of me just repeatedly in my head after I come down from just being angry of being a Cowboys fan. I just heard that in my head. Better luck next year. And in my head, I'm like, no, stop saying that. It was like a bad dream, right? But hey, that's all you can do. You can just look forward to next year. And now you got to be optimistic about your team, right? Like, what else? How else are you supposed to react? The funny part is that I think that based on where you're at in the United States, because I feel like every team says that. Twitter has shown me that every team thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl, and every team thinks when the draft happens that their team got significantly better. And mind you, like 90% of draft picks are bust. In free agency, someone makes a signing, and it's like, oh, that was the missing piece. This happens every year to all of us. It just feels like we hear it more because we're in an area where it is a bunch of Cowboys fans. New Mexico don't have a professional football team, so you would assume that the fan bases are going to be within the surrounding areas, right? Which is going to be Denver, Dallas, and I've seen a lot of Raider fans here in Roswell. That might just be the whole gangster thing. So I don't know if that necessarily actually Raider fans or if it's like, yo, homie, chale, I don't know. But those are the three teams that I do see. You would think you would see the Texans a little more, but you don't, and that's probably because they came in later in the NFL, and most of those teams from Texas or most people from New Mexico probably were already Dallas Cowboy fans. But it's crazy to look at the odds at the beginning of the year. This graphic's from the beginning of the year. You look at the AFC North. Excuse me, Baltimore was the favorites. It's Pittsburgh at 550, the Bengals at 260. They drop off pretty bad, and now they're playing for the division. And then you got the Texans, as we said. The Texans and Jags were favored coming into the season to come out of the AFC South. And it looks like that's kind of played out how we thought. 300, 100, that's pretty close. But the Jags are going to win the division, assuming that they beat the Titans this weekend. Then you look at the NFC North. I kind of expected the Lions to fall off. It seems like most folks thought the Lions would figure it out, but with them missing both offensive coordinators, it's a tough look. Earl just texted me. He said, "Cowboys at Green Bay next year. We may." What do you say? Cowboys at Green Bay next year. We may finally have to nut up and go to Lambeau together if the dates work out. Hopefully that does work out. That'd be fun. I've always wanted to go to Lambeau Field just to feel what everybody else talks about. Looks like a fun stadium. The neighborhood, I mean, it looks like it's just part of a regular neighborhood. It would be cool to get one of those Airbnb Packer houses that are just like decked out. That would be pretty sick. That would be a fun view. That would be a fun view. But this was cool. Yeah, it tore me up. It was fun, but took me a year to pay it off. So it probably take me a year to collect my debt. But it looks like I will win fantasy football in my league this year. So if you need fantasy football advice, fantasy football is about luck, man. It's about luck like crazy. It's a lot of luck because at the end of the day, it comes down to injuries. And like yesterday, like this matchup against my buddy Nate, I feel so bad for him just because like Jamar Gibbs, who would have expected Jamar Gibbs to put up 6 points? You know, his best players had like 5 points. Who would have thought? Who would have thought, Jay? Shoot, man. I can't wait for this weekend, bro. The Texans get a big win over the Jaguars on Saturday. That was massive. And now the Texans might be the hottest team going into the playoffs. But let's run through a couple of these scores, Jay. From Thursday, the Christmas games, which were pretty boring. No implications whatsoever, but you just had them on the TV in the background as you're hanging out with the family and opening gifts for some folks. The Cowboys get a 30-23 victory over the Commanders, now moving themselves to 7-8-1. What a shite season for the Cowboys. Dak, let's go ahead and rest that last game of the season and let's start focusing on next year. The Lions lose to the Vikings with the backup quarterback 23-10, and then the Broncos win 20-13 over the Chiefs in a close game. It made it a little nerve-wracking for the Denver Broncos, who are now set to play for the number 1 seed this coming up weekend. The Texans get the win over the Chargers 20-16, and then the Ravens with that big win over the Packers 41-24. Are the Ravens up to something? We'll find out this weekend when they face the Pittsburgh Steelers. And on Sunday's slate, the Seattle Seahawks battled one out against the Carolina Panthers, who are now sitting at 8-8, and will be playing for not only a playoff spot but for their division against the Buccaneers to close out the Week 18 games. So that game will be fun. That game's gonna be fun, man. Two teams that we don't know if they're good or not. We don't know if they're good or not. What's funny about the Panthers, if you just look at their schedule, it's like green, red, green, red, green, red, because they're just 50-50. They're like perfect to what to what their record shows us. They're 8-8, and that's exactly what they are. They're good but bad. They're good but bad. But Bryce Young, man, showing glimpses of dude is 5'9". Like when I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, damn, Bryce Young is this height. Well, I guess I need to chill out. I'm 5'10", bro. 5'10" with shoes on. The Bengals get a win. Joey Burrow going to close out the season happy. You remember just a couple weeks ago, I had the interview where he's bummed out, not excited. He's like, I don't know if I like football. People were starting to compare him to Andrew Luck. Like maybe this is it. Maybe he's finally tired of getting hit over and over and over and over, and he's going to retire. And Joe Burrow's like, no, dude, it was a rough week. I'm back. 37 points by the Bengals. And then, as we talked about, Browns get 13-6 win over Mike Tomlin, Aaron Rodgers, and the Steelers. And now Mike Tomlin is playing for his job in Week 18 against the Baltimore Ravens. Jacksonville, we went into their locker room getting that victory, 23-17. You feel for Phillip Rivers, who's been playing. He's been playing well, man, and you feel for him. 42-year-old man coming back after sitting out for 5 years and being effective offensively. It was fun. The Colts run was fun. What the Colts did this year was cool. I don't know that any of us really expected it. But now what to look forward to in the future for the Colts, it's like that's the only thing that sucks about the Colts season is that it's kind of you're like, damn, you're 8-8. It's confusing, especially when you don't know who your quarterback's going to be. Because we've seen the inconsistency from Anthony Richardson, it's like hard to be excited about that. But obviously with Daniel Jones and the ACL injury, like How long is that going to take for him to recover? And then not only that, but when we've seen people come back from ACL injuries, it seems like that first year, that first several months is always kind of a filler, and you never get the actual production that you wanted or that we assume we were going to get. Like if it was just a video game, like they just came back and it was like back to normal. That's not the case here. So if you're a Colts fan, you're kind of like, damn, we got to play Jonathan Taylor. A couple of these contracts are about to be due on defense. Like, I think if you're the Colts, though, if we want to look at something positive, it's going to be that you still have Shane Steichen and their defensive coordinator Anarumo. I think I'm saying that right. He used to be the defensive coordinator for the Bengals when they got to the Super Bowl, and then now went over to the Colts. And look at the transition that they made. So I think if you're a Colts fan, the one thing that you got to be excited about is the progression that you're going to see from that defense. And I would rather be in a situation where your defense is what's winning you games, and then you're slowly waiting for the offense to kind of catch up. I think that's where I would rather be. I mean, you look at the Colts. I mean, you look at teams like the Jags or Houston, where their defenses have carried them, and now you're slowly starting to reap the benefits of the offense catching some fire. And then now it feels like someone like the Colts almost feel unstoppable, although they were in a close game against a division rival yesterday on the road. I mind, I might say that. But yeah, if you're the Colts fans, I think that's what you got to look forward to. So hey, hell of a season, Colts. Hell of a season. One more week, you might as well finish with the dub. Hopefully, Phillip Rivers can get that win, not only for himself but for the city of Indianapolis next week. So kudos to them. Baker Mayfield dropping a big one. Shouldn't have dropped this one, Brad. You can drop this one, man. The Bucks look awful. Liam Cohen, them losing Liam Cohen to the Jags. Woo! Boy, are they feeling it. And now Todd Bowles is under the hot seat, but it's defense. What's great, this is where it gets confusing because Todd Bowles is a defensive coach, defensive mind, and their defense is playing fairly well. The offense, just for whatever reason, cannot find any type of hope over there, bro. And I don't know if it's Baker. I don't know if it's the offensive line. I mean, sometimes you watch Baker back there and it just looks like Happy Feet, bro. And the week before that, you saw, was it the who they play? I think it was the Saints, right? Defense. One of their defenders came out and he was like, "Man, that guy carries himself like he's Brett Favre or something." And if you watch some of Baker's interviews, you probably think the same thing. Like, damn, this guy carries himself like he's he's an all decade team. Like you like it when you're winning. It's like, oh, that's pretty. Baker Mayfield, cool. Moxie, yeah, blah blah blah, right? Like I remember, and I remember at the beginning of the season when Baker Mayfield was like, "Hey, they love you, then they hate you, they love you, then they hate you." Well, now you're on the hate part. You're on the hate part of that little whirlwind of criticism. But it's not because of the media, it's because of your play. You're playing like shite. You just lost to Quinn Ewers, who outplayed you. Kinda. I guess not really. I guess he only got the win in the most important drive. But Baker Mayfield, 33 for 44, 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It's those 2 interceptions. It's the giveaways that you're giving them that we bring up to question. Last week was the interception. Now you and Mike Evans are on the right page. Okay. We'll let that one go. But just being happy feedback there, man. And I get it. There's a lot of pressure in his face. But the way he carries himself, you got to be the reason you win. You can't be the reason you're losing, brother. I expect him to get it together for this last week for the division up for the grabs against the Carolina Panthers, who they've lost to. You got to get it together, bro. We've got to get it together, man. Freaking Baker. 33 for 44, 346 yards. But I guess we could blame this on the running game. Where the hell has Bucky Irvin been? 9 attempts for 19 yards is insane. You're supposed to be one of the top backs in the league. But also, why are we only running the ball a handful of times? Bucky Irvin, 9 attempts. White, 2. 11 attempts running the ball. Jay, do we know who the offensive coordinator is over there? I wonder who the offensive coordinator is in Tampa. That guy's not gonna have a job next year. I mean, this offense looks awful compared to last year. Awful. Patriots got a massive win, 42-10 over the Jets. The Jets finishing off their season trying to get the number 1 spot in the draft order. They're scrapping 3-13, but the Raiders were like, nah. Hold my beer. Hold my beer. We want Fernando. We want Fernando from Indiana. That's what Indiana. That's what the Raiders are thinking. Losing 34-10 to the Giants. Shoo. That Raiders team's just trying to get through the season right now. They're trying to get through the season with no stories, but they're not helping themselves not starting Max Crosby, which I get it. They're trying to save him knee injury, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I'd probably do the same thing, which is why I think Dallas should sit Dak. Why not? Saints get that big win, 34-26 over the Titans. The Saints seems to have found something. Seems like Kelly Moe is a pretty good coach, and they potentially have the rookie of the year in Tyler Show, Jay Shower Show. One of those. But on the season, 2,125 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. I think it's fair to say that he's definitely had a better season than Cam Ward, and in the head-to-head matchup, beats him. Outplays him, too. Cam Ward, 21 for 40, 251 yards, compared to 22, 27, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns. If Kelly Moe, they might be onto something over there in New Orleans, especially in that division. Anything is possible. All of a sudden, next year we could see that New Orleans team in the playoffs or battling it out like they are right now. I bet you they're just annoyed because they're like, man, this division is such shite that if they just win a couple of those close games that they had earlier in the season, maybe this would be a 3-man race rather than 2. But yesterday's 2:00 game, the Philadelphia Eagles get a 13-12 win over the Buffalo Bills. This game, the Buffalo Bills probably should have had a couple more points. They got into the red zone, they just couldn't close it out. The play that comes to mind immediately is that 1 yard when Josh Allen scrambles to the right, kind of can't decide whether he's going to throw or run. Maybe made the decision just a bit late. Linebacker gets to him and gives him a little hip check or a little shoulder to the hip. Josh Allen loses his balance and isn't able to stretch out for the touchdown, coming up short. Just kind of exactly what it's been for them in big games. Just slightly coming up just a bit short. Josh Allen goes 23 for 35, 262 yards, no touchdowns, and no interceptions. Across from him was Jalen Hurts, who went 13 for 27, 110 yards. Nick Sirianni, after the win, going into the tunnel, talking his ish. And there's a video of A.J. Brown kind of rolling his eyes. And I think what A.J. Brown is thinking is like, yo, let's relax. That game doesn't deserve the type of ish that you're talking right now. And I think he's right. I think he's onto something here. I think A.J. Brown is just letting out his frustrations of what it's been the entire season. Yeah, rain was coming down like crazy. So it makes you wonder, how come Saquon only had 68 yards? But this is what's beautiful. This is why I do like, because there is balance here. Saquon did have 19 touches. I would rather look at the stat line and see that Saquon had at least 19 touches than to look at the stat line and then go, why did Saquon only touch the ball 10 times? That's where I would lose my ish. So there was a sense of balance on this team yesterday. He smiled at him at the end, though. Yeah. Maybe we're making something out of nothing here, Aaron. But to me, just Nick Sirianni. He's just being Nick Sirianni. So I can't fault him for being himself. But I don't know that you come out of that game being as excited as he was. And it's not, I mean, as a big win against a big team, right? Against Josh Allen, one of the MVPs of the league. But to me, Buffalo has bigger issues than what's being talked about. And we've been saying the last couple of weeks, as you boys been following and ladies been following, it's we've raised our eyebrows to the Buffalo Bills weeks ago. Because Josh Allen, although he can be Superman don't always show up. Not in the real world. Not in the real world. Superman don't show up. You don't get to see that cool light in the sky and then all of a sudden somebody comes and saves you. It's not how the real world works. But every now and then, Jesus bless you with the miracle. And you'd be like, thank you, Jesus. But there's a lot of life lessons that go before you get that nice little blessing. And that's what the Buffalo Bills are going to learn. Is if you continue to do this is like what's the definition of delusion, Cheech? I know you're in here. Throw the definition in the comment for me. But if you can, I think it's somewhere along the lines is if you're doing the same thing and expect a different result. Right? And now Josh Allen with no Joe Burrow, none of his kryptonites, right? No Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow, no Patrick Mahomes. And I have more questions about the Buffalo Bills than I've ever had in my life. More questions about the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen than I've ever had in my life. And it's because you're forcing him to be Superman. You have James Cook in the backfield, but Josh Allen is your best runner. Make that make sense. Nothing on that defensive side of the ball scares me. When you look at the Buffalo Bills, legitimately, outside of Josh Allen, nothing about that team scares you. Nothing. And here's the definition here. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Now, Bean's up for question here. Scott McDermott's up for question here. If this team gets bounced in the first round, I expect those gentlemen to lose their jobs. Because they're not going to let go of the quarterback, right? That'd be dumb. And what sucks is Bean has tried to make this team better. I mean, we look at 2 years ago when they brought over Von Miller and, injuries run its course and kind of get them. And it's like, damn, was that the year though? Was that the year though? And then they move on from Stephon Diggs. They kind of blow up that team. It was like a mini rebuild without us realizing it. It was a mini rebuild without us realizing it. And that's because of Josh Allen, right? When you're that good, you hide a lot of flaws. But then they eventually start to show itself out. And that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing this team still being a part of that mini rebuild. But we're starting to see those flaws actually play themselves out because of how balanced the league is and how great these defenses are. You're not just going to go to Denver and put up 30, 40 points on them. You're not going to go to Jacksonville and put up 30, 40 points on them. You're not going to go to Houston and put 30 to 40 points on them. And guess what they're going to ask Josh Allen to do? They're going to ask Josh Allen to go to Denver and put up 40 points. They're going to want Josh Allen to go to Jacksonville and put up 40 points. They're going to need Josh Allen to go to Houston and put up 40 points. Those three teams I just named, ask yourself right now, will that happen? Would you put your money there? Like I said, there is absolute no excuse for those top guys to not do it with Mahomes gone. That's valid, but Mahomes don't play defense. And the defenses that Josh Allen is going to be going against you could make the argument are better than the defenses he has been put in front of him the last several years. Because those quarterbacks because those teams are supposed to be carried by their quarterbacks, right? You don't see what we're seeing right now where a lot of these guys are on rookie contracts and teams are loading up on defense. At least it feels that way. But, man, I'm telling you, boys, I'm nervous for this Bills team, bro. I feel bad for Josh Allen, but it's like the same thing with Dak, right? It's like you make $60 million a year. If we pay you to be the reason we win, then we expect it. Other than that, you need to take a pay cut, because if you need help all around you, then the only way that I can afford them is if you take less. But nobody's going to take less, right? Nobody's going to take less. Nobody's going to take less. He cannot lose to C.J. Stroud or Trevor Lawrence. Correct. He definitely can't be outplayed by them. If they lose, he just can't be outplayed by them. If they lose, he can't be the reason they lose. Because I'll tell you this right now. If the reason that the Buffalo Bills get bounced in the playoffs and it's because Josh Allen has a bad game, the conversation isn't going to be the pieces around Josh Allen. No. I think we finally see that switch in the media, right? Because right now Josh Allen's like the pretty boy of the NFL. Like, oh, perfect life, perfect wife. He's getting married. He's got his kid. Like, everything's going well for him in the real world. And then you bring him into that little bubble, the sports bubble, and it's not so good. It's a little stressful. It's a bit stressful. And if I'm them, bro, nah. If I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, I'm nervous. And you got to do this all on the road. Good luck. Tomorrow we'll have Tim Foley on. He'll be jumping on at 7 a.m. to talk about the college football playoffs that we will have this week. College football during the week is going to be awesome, and it's going to lay the slate perfectly for what we have NFL Week 18 right before the playoffs kick off. There'll also be a massive boxing match that we'll touch on tomorrow a little bit. Hopefully, Cheech can educate us a little bit in the boxing world, as my buddy's been slowly training in the back. In the back scenes, just that's gonna be fun to see. But tomorrow, Tim Foley will join us and catch us up on the UNM Lobos Rate Bowl game that we dropped. It was a tough loss, but the future looks bright for Albuquerque and the Lobos. And then we're gonna slowly make our transition into college football. That's gonna be fun. It feels like it's an even playing field everywhere out there. And, man, March Madness is right around the corner. If you think about it, it's only 2 months away. But we got to enjoy January, because football is only here for a couple more weeks or several more weeks. And once it's gone, a lot of us feel a bit lost. But with that being said, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Be a friend. Tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. Shout out PMS. See ya.
Everybody trying to be content creators and trying to go viral. You want to go